Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Breast Cancer Physio. I'm your host Jen McKenzie, lymphedema physiotherapist and ESSA accredited exercise physiologist. In this episode we're going to be talking about a topic that I feel is a really important topic for any woman who's been diagnosed with breast cancer to know about, and that is the topic of osteoporosis. Essentially the title of this video is really, will my bones be affected after breast cancer treatment? But the topic we're going to dive into specifically is that of osteoporosis. So if you enjoy this content and you would like to see more, then please subscribe to my channel, which is completely free. Give this video a big thumbs up and leave a comment in the section below if you have any questions around osteoporosis, bone mineral density, or any other questions around breast cancer topics in general. So first and foremost, let's define what osteoporosis is. Osteoporosis, by definition, is the thinning of the bone. Now, there's another phrase which we could almost use interchangeably with osteoporosis, and that is bone mineral density, but there are grades of bone mineral density. So you can be in normal ranges for bone mineral density, or you can be osteopenic, which is in between normal and osteoporotic, and then you can have osteoporosis. So it's like normal, osteopenic, and then osteoporotic. Now, interestingly, if any of you out there have already had a bone mineral density test, you may have seen the traffic light graph that comes back after you've had this scan done, which is essentially green, yellow, red. The green representing normal bone mineral density, the middle yellow part representing osteopenia, and the red section representing osteoporosis. We can go into further detail about those graphs regarding where you sit within each range. So sometimes people might be normal bone mineral density, but they might be right on the border of the green and the yellow, meaning they're sort of tipping towards osteopenic ranges, and similarly for osteopenia and osteoporosis. So I think that graph is really great as a visual aid to first and foremost tell you where you sit in the range of bone mineral density, because if you're normal but you're on the borderline, then that's definitely something you want to be acting on. I think one of the biggest messages I want to push in this video anyway though, guys, is that any woman from any age, and men too for that matter, should be working on their bone mineral density. I'm going to come back to this topic a little bit later in this video as to how you can improve your bone mineral density. So that's what osteoporosis is and what bone mineral density is. Let's move on to talk about who is at risk of these conditions after breast cancer, because even though there are normal populations of people that will get osteoporosis, unfortunately with breast cancer treatment, the side effects can sometimes cause osteoporosis. So firstly, women who are menopausal, reaching menopause or postmenopausal, are at much higher risk of osteoporosis. This is because when you go through menopause, estrogen is taken essentially out of your body, or your body stops producing estrogen, I should say, and the loss of estrogen can cause loss of bone mineral density. So estrogen's a hormone, and it's a bit of a pain in the rear end, estrogen, because it's really, really good in some ways, such as it provides assistance to bone mineral density, but then it can also cause, or at least contribute partly to feeding of breast cancer. So estrogen is really good for certain things and really bad in other cases. So the loss of estrogen through menopause can be a risk factor towards getting osteoporosis. The second group that is at high risk of osteoporosis is women who have had chemotherapy during their breast cancer treatment. So unfortunately, chemotherapy puts you at twice the risk of the normal population to get osteoporosis. So if you know that chemotherapy is going to be part of your treatment regime, if you are menopausal, I would absolutely request a bone mineral density scan if one has not already been organised for you as soon as possible during your treatment, because this is going to give you a baseline as to what your bone mineral density was before the treatment really had an impact. And then down the track, you can hopefully see that through good quality treatment, you've either maintained or even improved your bone mineral density, or at least you've got that baseline marker so that if anything does start happening with your bone stock, you know at least where you started from. So really push your medical teams, if they haven't organised it already, for a bone mineral density test. The third group of people that get affected by loss of bone mineral density as a side effect of breast cancer treatment are those women who are premenopausal, so not postmenopausal, but premenopausal, and have been prescribed tamoxifen as a medication after their breast cancer. So tamoxifen is a hormone blocking medication that is prescribed because if you've had a breast cancer that is estrogen driven, so meaning that estrogen is feeding the tumor growth, the tamoxifen is a medication that is trying to suppress the supply of estrogen in your body. So just like the situation with menopause, where menopause essentially is a time in a woman's life where estrogen supply is seriously downgraded, tamoxifen also suppresses the supply of estrogen. So a postmenopausal woman or a premenopausal woman on tamoxifen are both at risk of lowering bone mineral density. So interestingly, this is just a bit of a side note and just to confuse the hell out of everybody, if you are postmenopausal taking tamoxifen, it is beneficial for your bone mineral density. So this is where, the devil in the detail is important, ladies and gents. And it does get very confusing, but ultimately if you are premenopausal taking tamoxifen, which by the way is the more common hormone blocking medication given to premenopausal women, if you are postmenopausal and you're on tamoxifen, you are actually enhancing your bone mineral density. Typically postmenopausal women who've had an estrogen positive breast cancer are going to be prescribed aromatase inhibitors rather than tamoxifen as a hormone blocker. So typically tamoxifen will only come into the picture if there's specific circumstances or your oncologist or surgeon is changing your medication to suit your particular needs or your tolerance to the drug. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense as to who's at risk of loss of bone mineral density. So those are the three groups that are mainly affected by osteoporosis. I suppose the other group we really should throw in here now, come to think of it, is if you've got a family history of osteoporosis or your lifestyle has put you in a situation where you might be at higher risk. So I think at the end of the day, if you've gone through breast cancer, the best thing you can go and do is push your medical team, speak to your GP about getting you referred for a bone mineral density test. Now here's the good news. Osteoporosis and osteopenia, despite being coined a disease process, are actually something you can impact in a positive way. So you can actually change your bone mineral density if you apply certain treatments. So the most common thing that your medical teams will probably recommend are medications that you can take to improve or stabilize your bone mineral density. So there's things like Aclasta, Prolia, and there's a few others on the market. Again, we don't really need to go into the names of them because this is a little bit outside my scope. So really, this information is something you're going to be gaining from your medical team. But the best thing to know as a start is that there are medications that can improve and at least stabilize your bone mineral density. So definitely talk to your medical team or your GP about those medications. The second thing your medical team may suggest is a supplement like calcium, or they may also have a look at your vitamin D levels because vitamin D and calcium also can influence your bone stock. The third most important thing, and this is something that I love to tell women about because I think what happens to a lot of women after breast cancer is that when another medication is being offered, the female will often tell me they are just absolutely sick to death of throwing more tablets or just doing more medical things to their body. They will tend to lean towards things that are as natural as possible for their body. And that's fine. It's not like I'm against the medication or the supplements. And there's definitely research evidence to suggest that both of those things can improve bone mineral density. Just as a side note, and another natural thing that you can potentially look into is absorbing calcium through your diet. So I've definitely seen improvements in bone mineral density, literally looking at the graph where someone has jumped from the red zone back up to the yellow or the yellow back up to the green, from osteoporosis back to osteopenia or osteopenia back to normal bone mineral density ranges, where they've, say, started adding more dairy into their diet and other treatment techniques. So this is possible, everybody. You can change your bone mineral density. It's just a matter of working out what treatment option is going to suit you best. So the exciting one I was mentioning before is that exercise or certain exercise styles can improve your bone mineral density. The first one is weight-bearing exercise. So if nothing else, ladies and gents, get out there and start pounding the pavement. If you go walking, you are creating ground reaction force every time you step, which is stimulating your skeleton, and that should at least help your bone mineral density to a degree. So the reason I say to a degree is that I've got a slightly better option for everybody, which is weight training. So if you add load to your skeleton with resistance exercises such as resistance bands, kettlebells, dumbbells, barbells, leg press machines, shoulder press machines, cable machines, all of those things are loading your skeleton above your own body weight, and this is what is going to be your gold standard treatment option as far as exercise is concerned for improving your bone mineral density. So if you want to do something completely el natural that has got a mega number of side effects that are totally positive, including assistance for risk reduction towards breast cancer, lymphedema prevention, improving energy levels, like mental health benefits are far beyond what I'm going to talk about in this video. But if you want to improve your mental health, definitely start exercising, and then sleep quality, a muscle mass, muscle strength, all of these things come off the back end of doing 2 or 3 exercise sessions a week. But I find particularly with strength training, these benefits seem to be even more profound. But as I said, strength training is so good for your bone stock. So we can go into more detail on how to do strength training in a video that I'm going to do very shortly, because I've had some fantastic questions and comments coming into the YouTube channel about how much can I lift safely after breast cancer in terms of weights. There's even people in countries where they are telling me that they're being told by their medical teams not to lift anything more than 2 kilos. So one of my next videos is going to be all about permission to progress with your weight training, because there's plenty of research evidence out there to promote strength training for women after breast cancer, and particularly along the lines of prevention towards lymphedema. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I hope you've gained some great information on osteoporosis and bone mineral density after breast cancer. If you have any comments on this video, then please leave them in the section below. I'll be back next week with another video. I hope you're having a great week wherever you are. I'm Jen McKenzie, the Breast Cancer Physio. I'll see you next time.